Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and the Wii is one of my favourite consoles of all time. But when I'm talking about its library, I'm not just talking about the games you can find on store shelves, because the Wii's library is far more expansive than that. We still have the means to buy games that came out 30, 40, or even 50 years ago. But in 2019, an entire digital storefront was just lost. Some of the Wii's very best games were exclusive to the Wii Shop channel, and you simply can't buy them anymore. Now, some have been preserved on other platforms like World of Goo and Sonic 4, of course, Cave Story, and even games like Tetris Party got a physical set with Tetris Party Deluxe. So not everything was lost, but there's still a bunch of games exclusive to WiiWare, and a decade later, they still are. So to reiterate, we are just talking about games that are exclusive to WiiWare. So while Lost Winds and its sequel are some of the best games on the entire platform, they were thankfully preserved through Steam. You can still buy this game, and you absolutely should. Anyway, let's dive in. Final Fantasy The Crystal Chronicles My Life as a King was my very first WiiWare game, and boy, what an impression. The max file size a WiiWare game could be was around 40 megabytes, so not big at all. That means developers had to get very clever, and in My Life as a King, the entire game takes place within these walls. It's really simple. You're a young king and you start this kingdom from nothing, but as the days go on, you slowly build it into something far more extravagant. You can send citizens on adventures, but you yourself are stuck in this town. But they come back with resources, and you can use them to build more houses, or a bakery to boost morale. It's a really interesting twist on the Final Fantasy series, where you're not adventuring, but you're micromanaging those who are, and everything you do in the town not only grows the population, but it makes the adventurers happier. It's a brilliant, simple, and addictive loop, and because it's so small scope, this game just feels ultra cozy. This is easily my favourite game in the Crystal Chronicles series, and I really want to see it come back. Konami went all in on WiiWare. M2 developed this new sub-series called Rebirth, and these games were so good, and every single one of them is stranded on WiiWare. Now we will cover all of them on this list, but let's start off with Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. This is a remake of one of the worst games in the entire series, being Castlevania Adventure on Game Boy. That game was slow, sluggish, and just boring, and somehow M2 made it into something very special. Suddenly, the black sheep of the series became something that can stand toe-to-toe with the series' very best. Not only that, but this was the first traditional Castlevania in some time. Symphony of the Night gave the series a brand new direction, and while that was certainly a great thing, it still feels really good to return to classic, arcade-style Castlevania. This is a must-play for any fan of the series, so Konami, please re-release it. Let's be positive, so good news first, Dr. Mario Miracle Cure on 3DS is a very similar game. It's hard to say that this gameplay is completely lost, but Dr. Mario Online RX, or Dr. Mario plus Germbuster as it's called here in Europe, is unfortunately a lost game in the series. Even if you happen to still own it, the entire online component, part of the game's title, is gone. So with that taken away, you're kinda left with a very vanilla feeling Dr. Mario game. That said, at the time, I adored this game. I played it so much online. You could even send a demo version of the game to your friend and have them play online with you without them even buying the game. That's awesome! They also added a new mode called Germbuster, where you point at the screen and move the blocks around using the cursor, and that was pretty cool too. You could even catch ricocheting falling pieces and move them around too. There was a lot of flexibility here. This game being lost may not sting as much as other games on this list, but it's still a shame all the same. And this game has Mii's. Does Miracle Cure have Mii's? I don't think so, Miracle Cure. I remember watching my fiancé play a game that's published by Disney called Where's My Water, and I thought to myself, this is just Fluidity on WiiWare! Fluidity is an awesome puzzle platformer where you play as a pool of water. Tilting the Wii Remote makes the entire pool of water sway around, and the objective is to simply navigate around without losing all of the droplets. It's a really imaginative game with a surprising amount of exploration. While this game remains exclusive to WiiWare, a sequel did come to 3DS known as Fluidity Spin Cycle, so the gameplay does live on even if the original game does not. This was the kind of stuff I loved on WiiWare, games like World of Goo and Bit Trip. Things too small to make onto store shelves, but absolutely still worth playing. During the Wii era, Nintendo did Excitebike incredibly well. Excite Truck was a Wii launch title, and it was awesome. Excite Bots was exclusive to America and had to import it, but it was worth it because it's still such a good game. And then on WiiWare, we had a very traditional Excitebike World Rally. Now, I'll be honest, I've never loved the original Excitebike, but there's something about this one that I really like. The controls feel far more modernized, and doing a wheelie and jumping off a giant ramp just feels amazing. They basically remade Excitebike and made it even better in my eyes. Even the track editor is here. They took a game that I respected but didn't love, and turned it into something that I legitimately love. It even had online play, which Excite Truck didn't, but Excitebots did, which is part of the reason I imported it. But again, online's dead. This basically did everything it could do and delivered on pretty much all fronts. I hope this kind of game comes back. Shinen have made a very big name for themselves lately with games like Fast Racing Neo and Fast RMX and The Tourist. These guys have always been pushing the technical abilities of Nintendo consoles, and that was also true on WiiWare. Again, remember, these games were around 40 megabyte max, and they made this, the original Fast Racing League. This gameplay does come from the slower speed, so it definitely gets a lot faster than this, but the sheer variety and fidelity on screen does not scream 40 megabytes. This game looks better than some, or even most, retail Wii games. Shinen are, and always have been, absolute wizards. It's not just technically impressive though, Fast Racing League is an amazing game. The big twist with this one is, unlike the new Fast games, you can't just change colour whenever you want. Changing colour is part of your boost meter, and a lot of tracks require you to change colour, meaning you can't just boost all the time, otherwise you're dooming yourself. If I don't change colour, I can't clear this gap, so you have to be very, very careful. I like this though, it introduces a really compelling risk versus reward factor. And of course, even 10 years ago when this game came out, there was no F-Zero, so this was kind of the Wii's F-Zero alternative. It didn't have online play, so that was a bit of a shame, but there was nothing else like this on WiiWare, or even on the Wii as a whole. The Fast series has carried on, but the first game is still stuck on WiiWare. Contra Rebirth, my favourite game in the Rebirth series. Unlike Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth, this one isn't a remake. This is an entirely original, brand new Contra game. And boy, is it hectic. There are bullets flying absolutely everywhere. You feel so powerful in this game, but much like other Contra games, just one hit and you're down. You may be a walking tank, but it's still incredibly challenging. It's not just a safe retro sequel either. Games like Mega Man 9, while still really good, would undo the series progression and kinda revert back to Mega Man 2, whereas this game feels like it takes off mechanically where Contra Hardcore left off. It's utter chaos, but there's so much good in this game. This was a great time for retro revivals, like with Donkey Kong and Mega Man and even Kirby's Adventure, but Contra Rebirth is absolutely one of my favourite examples. Need it back, Konami! So, is this one a WiiWare game, you may ask? And the answer to that is kinda. Doc Lewis's Punchout was a Club Nintendo reward exclusively in America. If you reach Platinum level, you get a choice between a Mario hat and this game right here. Who chose the Mario hat? But during Club Nintendo's closure, this game was made available to everyone. In America still though. Good thing I had an American Wii. So what is this? Well, it's basically a training game where you fight against Doc Lewis. There's not a whole lot to it, but he does put up a bit of a fight, and he says things like,
"Woo-wee! Thanks for joining Club Nintendo, Mac."
It's a really cool companion piece to the Wii's Punch-Out, but it doesn't do a great deal more than that. But still, really cool to have, and it is double dead because not only is Club Nintendo dead, but also WiiWare is dead, so this is dead. Sorry, Doc. The creators of Chibi Robo gave us the R-Style series, and there were a bunch of games across DSiWare and WiiWare. I'm talking 12 games here. 5 of them were on WiiWare, so which one is the best? Well, in my opinion, it's Light Tracks. You can probably tell by looking at it, the entire art style series is very simple, but that's kind of the charm. It's the most basic and elegant design, and it works really well. So Light Tracks is a racing game where you play as a string of light, and you've got to beat all the other strings of light. Flying in unison with the other streams fills up your boost meter, and you simply have to get ahead. You've got to dive in and out of lanes avoiding obstacles, be aggressive and push others out of their lane, and above all, be a good little light. The whole series is worth a shout, and you can still buy the DSiWare games on the 3DS eShop, but the WiiWare ones, like Light Tracks, are unfortunately deadzo. Final Fantasy The Crystal Chronicles My Life as a Dark Lord. This one's often overshadowed by My Life as a King, and while I certainly believe that's the stronger game, this one's also excellent. It's much more hands-on, so rather than relaxing and letting others do the work for you, instead the game plays more like a tower defense. You're up on the top floor, and you simply build other floors and populate them with enemies. Heroes will come in to try and thwart you, and you simply thwart them back. The more kills you get, the more you can build. If you couldn't get into the hands-off approach of My Life as a King, this one might do it for you. I definitely prefer the prior game, but there's still a ton of value. Okay, Konami's final Rebirth game, Gradius Rebirth. Now, while I definitely appreciate this one, it's definitely the least exciting in the series. Castlevania remade a bad game and made it great, Contra gave us an awesome brand new game, and Gradius is just kind of more Gradius. Not a bad thing by any means, but there's nothing really distinct about this one. Still, I'll always take more Gradius. One thing I praise Contra Rebirth for is feeling like a proper sequel, whereas Gradius Rebirth kinda takes a lot of steps back. This is definitely a legacy Gradius title, and there's nothing wrong with that, it just makes it less exciting than the prior Rebirth games. That said, it shouldn't be forgotten. Every game in the Rebirth series has unique qualities, even Gradius. It wasn't even particularly expensive at the time, coming in at 1,000 Wii points. We really need a Rebirth collection, these games are too good to be lost to time. Look, I love the WarioWare series, and WiiWare kind of had an exclusive one with WarioWare DIY Showcase. This was kinda the Pokemon Stadium of WarioWares, where you can take your creations from WarioWare DIY on DS and put them on the big screen. All the inputs were made around touch, but you can use the pointer to basically replicate that. It was a really cool way to experience creations, and you could even send games that were on your Wii console to another Wii console. But let's say you don't have the DS game. Well, there's a bunch of pre-made games by Intelligent Systems right here packaged in. You can of course still play DIY on DS, but there's something very special about this one, and unfortunately, like the other WiiWare games, you just can't buy it anymore. Okay, ending off on Pokemon. So there were two Pokemon WiiWare games, and explaining the first one won't take long at all. So My Pokemon Ranch was the first one, and in this game, let me try and explain this the best I can. So, it's kinda like Pokemon Stadium, where you can take Pokemon from the base game, at the time being Diamond and Pearl, and send them to the Wii console. Although a game already did that, being Battle Revolution, so they said, well, Battle Revolution makes them look really good. What if we put them in like 4 polygons? And then they can wander around a farm, and you can take pictures of them and send it to your Wii message board, and then show all your friends your low poly Diamond and Pearl models. That's this game. There's really not much more you can do than that. It was £7. So what about the other one, Pokemon Rumble? This has a few sequels, but the original is exclusive to WiiWare. This game took the models from Pokemon Ranch and said, what if we said they were toys, would that be more believable? And then they made a game around that. It's basically a giant 3D brawler where you go from screen to screen, mashing the 2 button, and plowing your way through swarms of Pokemon. Sometimes you can collect the Pokemon and make them part of your team, and from there type advantages come into it, so with your Pikachu you can blaze your way through bug-type Pokemon. It's much more of a video game than Pokemon Ranch. I definitely think the series improved in the sequels because this is a bit basic. However, it is a Pokemon game, and it's one you can't buy anymore, and that's a pretty big deal for this series. It even had a demo, and you can't play that anymore. What a world. The Pokemon Rumble series is kinda cursed. Pokemon Rumble Rush came to mobile in 2019, and it closed down in 2020. Oh dear. So are there any WiiWare games that you love that weren't on this list? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to go to that subscribe button and close it down. Make sure no one can ever subscribe again, baby. And we'll catch you next time. Bye everyone.